What did make you decide to run with the Greens?
We've, I guess, lived by Greens ideology for quite some time, and for us it was the next step, being involved socially but politically actively with people who have the same ideas as us about what we want for our future. And for us it was about not just sitting at barbecues with friends ranting and shouting and carrying on, but actually doing something proactive and being involved.
Obviously you have children and you're a woman, and there's been a lot of talk about like women can't balance family life and politics. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't. I think women are very unique in the way they tackle their lives and their challenges, and I think for any working mother and any working parent in general that is the case. I don't think being a politician is any different. Obviously you're under a lot of public scrutiny, and historically women seem to be in the spotlight far more in politics, but I also believe the more women and the more mothers that are in politics, the less that will happen. 50% of Australians are women, but certainly 50% of our politicians aren't, so we're grossly underrepresented. Probably the focus is more on to be a woman in politics, you have to be really ballsy and hard-nosed, and you have to be like the men, and I think women actually bring, rather than trying to emulate men, they bring a really unique focus into politics. Women, I was just reading recently a paper about women in politics talking about women moving into or being put forward in marginal seats because women appeal to voters far more than men do, which is, a nice thought. I'm not really sure what the basis of that is, but that in fact women would be better going into safe seats where they really where a politician has to really fight to maintain their seat, because they work so hard and they're so dedicated. And I think part of that comes from having to prove yourself as being a woman in politics.
Childcare has kind of been in the news a bit this
Oh, that's my hot topic today.
Yeah, well, I don't have children, but a lot of people are unhappy with our childcare system. What do you think?
I don't know if you saw Difference of Opinion last night on the ABC, but it was about childcare and a lot of what was coming up, I spent a lot of time yelling at the TV last night, but a lot of what was coming up was about the lack of choice in childcare, and for me that's certainly a really hot issue that I've lobbied for and fought for a very long time. Even long before I had a child, I worked as a nanny over in England, and I can see the incredible merits of having choice in childcare. I think there's an incredible danger in Australia of taking away the value and recognition of parents who parent their own children, and I think there's an incredible focus on childcare being the be-all and end-all.
Okay.
And I think that we're falling into a trap where we're selling our children out for corporate ideals, and that people are making money from our children. They're providing adequate service, but it is not world-class service. It is not tackling the emotional and social needs of our children. Home-based childcare, family daycare centres and community-based childcare, which is what the Greens are absolutely, their policies revolve around taking away the corporatisation of childcare where people are making money from our kids.
That's a bit like what your junk food policy ban on advertising is. Can you just explain a bit about that?
Yeah, we're actually launching today. Our Greens policy was launched on Wednesday in Adelaide, but today we're launching it in Brisbane for our junk food policy, which is the Greens propose and have put forward to ban junk food advertising on TV for children under the age of 12. Comes on the back of a lot of lobby groups who are saying that the obesity levels in Australia by 2030, I think it is, I just remember the figure off the top of my head, 2030, that only 35% of children will be either normal or underweight. 35% will be normal or underweight. That's an incredible figure of obese children. We're saying, while banning junk food advertising to kids isn't the only thing that can fix the problem, obviously we need to focus on having a balanced diet and exercise for our children. It's also really important for governments to recognise that obesity will become an epidemic. It will cost us incredible amounts of money, and that removing by having misleading, ambiguous advertising aimed directly at children that serves only to make money for advertising and for junk food companies, it's undermining a parent's ability to say no to their kids by... They're targeted in their schools, they're targeted on television, in magazines, in their sporting clubs. It's absolutely unacceptable that our children are sold to, that they're sold as consumers and they're not respected as children.
Also, the coalition's kind of been targeting the older voters with their pension rises and stuff.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you would do that would benefit the pensioners more?
The Greens rolled out really early in the election campaign, long before the Coalition or the ALP. They rolled out their increase to the pension, which was by $30 a week. We're seeing the ALP are coming up with increasing living expenses and the travel allowances and things like that. And we're saying, the elderly people can't afford to stay in their own homes, they can't afford to live, they need an increase, that the rate of pension increase hasn't increased with the rate of pay. Economically, we're giving tax cuts, millions and millions and millions of dollars of tax cuts to people who really, quite frankly, don't need them. And here are the elderly people in our community who offer us a wealth of experience, and our social fabric is reliant on maintaining connections with elderly people, and we're just not supporting that. So the Greens are absolutely fundamentally supportive of elderly people, and of keeping aged people within their communities.
Just lastly, why would you be the best representative for Brisbane?
Oh, well, I'm the only woman running. I think that Brisbane needs a bit of a change. Arch Bevis this is his, I believe, 7th election that he's running for. I personally think Arch Bevis is a lovely man, but I think that it is time for a change. I think that Brisbane is changing as an incredibly dynamic city. There's a lot of young people now moving to the city, and I think, quite frankly, they need somebody who can represent them.